Hi, I'm R.K. Chand. I'm one of the founders and part of the team of CGTantra and the CGT Expo. And it's my humble gratitude to welcome you all to the 4th edition of CGT Expo in CGT Expo 2011. This year we head into the 4th successful year. The cross-pollination of networking, conferences, technology fair, education fair, workshops and the job fair bring the entire fraternity under one roof. It was quite a struggle to bring in a structured job fair into this industry because we are used to know the small niche group of people that we have and directly contact or go through a certain process to look at talent around in studios. I'm really grateful to all the studios around who have joined hands for CGT Expo and they have made the job fair and the education fair and the technology fair running successfully for the last four years. The entire online community of CGTantra gathers here at CGT Expo, being our flagship event. Hence, we meet lots of people who are our members. We do lots of activities here which can entertain the AVGC fraternity over here. Also, we would love to have all those enthusiasts to join this celebration and contribute to make it a bigger success. As you may know, that the theme of CGT Expo 2011 is tracing back the pixels. We have just finished a decade and we are starting for the next decade now. Therefore, before we step into the 4th successful year, we'd like to thank our long-standing partners and exhibitors. CGT Expo 2011 would especially like to thank its associate partners, Technicolor India, DreamWorks Dedicated Unit at Technicolor India, MPC and DSK Superinfocom. Our technology partners AJ Video Systems and Adobe India and ASUS as our laptop partner, FX School as the AV and knowledge partner, Framebox our conference partner, Big Games and Reliance Animation as our kit bag partner and Play Factory as our gaming partner. We have lots of exhibitors out there: Lucasfilm Singapore, Contact Singapore, Zima, Zika, IGA, Unicorn, TASA Info Solutions, CMedu, Right Brain Effects, Uxbridge London, College of Animation Bioengineering and Animation Research Center and Manipal University. I'd also like to thank our online media partners Animation Express, Bollywood Hungama, CG Today, ASIFA India, Evermotion and All About Animation, our international festival partner ANSI and our supporters Abide, NASCOM, TASI, Xfinity VFX Solutions and our trophy partners Crystal Mirage. Well, last but not the least, our event and logistics partner Creating, because of which we are making this possible. So, right out to straight off, to start this conference, we have two esteemed guests within us to present the keynote. Can I have a round of applause for Biren Ghosh, the country head Technical India, and Laura Dorman, an AJ Video System partner manager. So what we're going to do is we're fortunate to have with us the screening of this year's Oscar winner short film, The Lost Thing, by Passion Pictures Australia and Screen Australia. We are very thankful to Hugo San and the team back in Passion Pictures who could permit this screening. Hugo is going to be here and he's going to present tomorrow on the work that they do with Passion Picture as well. So we'll start with the screening. It's the 15-minute film. Is the film which won the Oscars, and we are fortunate to have one of our session mates, Shelley Page from DreamWorks Dedicated Unit. She presented this film in last year's Shelley's Eye Candy and predicted that this might win award in last year's Expo, and this year it won the award. And we have lots of our films being screened tomorrow as well. So we will move on and start off with The Lost Thing, and then we'll have the keynote address by Mr. Biren Ghosh and Laura Dorman. Well, we have a great lineup of sessions throughout the day. Post the keynote, we're going to start off with the Harry Potter session by Nicola. So without further ado, may I now request our keynote speaker, Biren Ghosh, on the stage, please, to deliver the keynote for the session.
How many students do we have in the audience? Can you raise your hands, please? That's great. As you can see, my hand is raised too. And how many people from the audience here do not belong to the CG or animation industry? Okay, I'm in the right place. Super. So I'm going to start with a very interesting thing that came to me when I was exploring the subject of pixels. And I just wanted to share with all of you that, as most of you know, a pixel is the smallest possible element of a picture. But it was very interesting when I looked at the word pixelated. And the word pixelated means, in the dictionary, to be led astray, to be confused, to be bewildered. And I thought that the word pixelated was much more appropriate for many of us that work in the CG community, because that's the feeling that we have on a day-to-day basis as we battle with trying to make pictures and do our work across the different streams of this industry. And I think, therefore, what I would like to talk about is the fact that, be it the growth of civilizations or countries or communities or economies or whatever we are doing, it's about getting greater clarity. It's about getting greater perspective. And I think that's the reason that we come to conferences like this, is to kind of clear our minds and look ahead and talk to each other and figure out how that can happen. This is the reality of today. It's often been said that the curious task that is in front of most of us who try and build companies and studios and businesses and new media and new ways of doing things, we try to demonstrate that we can do things that we really know very little about. And I think the CG community, and most of you who've been coming here for the last 5 or 10 years, I think the tribute to this community is that we are all about overcoming problems, overcoming the reality that constantly changes in the media world. And as we go through the presentation, you will see how that reality has been changing around us. The best made plans go awry. And one of the things that I think we can take away from all that's been happening around us is not to have this blind quest for success. I think the important thing for most of us to do, irrespective of which part of the CG world we work in, is to try to add value, and success will follow. But a lot of people that I meet at these conferences are always talking about the fact that they have the greatest film idea, they have the best new look that they can create, they're the best new artist, they are wildly successful, people leaving institutes want to become directors and to become heads of something or the other immediately. And I think that's really what we should sound the caution bell towards, is that I think the reality of today is so fast changing that it behooves us to come to places like this and exchange ideas and refresh our learning. So there's a very interesting quote that I came across, and it says that biologists have a word for the way in which we find solutions to problems. They call it evolution. So you must have heard of Web 1.20 and 2.0 and 3.0 and so on. So they don't call it failure, they just call it evolution. And I think there is no better example of what's changing quickly than in the world of in the CG world. And we'll see that as we look across the last few years in things that actually a lot of us in this room have been working on in the last 5 to 7 years. So most of you here who are participating in this world are obviously here because, by definition, what you do not want to see is a pixel. What each of us want to do is to be part of a flow, which is so seamless and so beautiful that you don't really want to see its finest component. And I think one of the things that most of us have learned as lessons in the world, you just saw a fabulous short film, which was The Lost Thing. Imagine how many people there were individually pixels in that team. Imagine how much thought went into actually creating the inverted comma pixels that made up the look, the feel, the design, the color palette, the models, the whole flow of the whole thing. But you don't want to see those components. The moment you can see those components, then it's standing out. You really want to, the analogy that I have for the theme of pixels for today is that it's like a grain of sand. You see a beautiful desert, or you see a beautiful landscape like this, and you don't really want to see something that's sticking out from there. It should look as one seamless experience. And I think that's really what all of us are trying to achieve, and it's extremely difficult to achieve in the world in which we are in. So the two or three things that all of us know, but very, very few of us pay attention to, is really the two or three or four things that make up, this whole world. Obviously, characters and sets and stuff like that. And I just thought that one of the things that we should, I use this graphic because I came across a word called karasen. And it's one of the oldest words. It comes from the Greek language. And it actually stands for engrave. And it's the root word that later in English became character. And irrespective of the look and the feel and the image that all of us strived and worked towards, I think at the heart of it, and you saw that in the last film, the thing that you will go away thinking about again and again and again is the engraving that particular film made on your mind, the mental imprint that it left behind. And I think most of us, when we try and create shows, whether they are for kids or for adults or for any other category of or genre, we actually want to make sure that we are creating a beautiful engraving over time. I want you to think back. How many of you have seen more than 2 or 3 Shrek films? Can you put your hands up? Okay, excellent. Most of you. So think back. Think back to Shrek 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. And what do you see? What you actually see in that evolution is that there are these fabulous characters, quirky, unusual, stories that have been extremely well crafted and well written. But from the point of view of what we are here to explore together, is that stories almost never change. It's the packaging that changes. So as you look over time and you see the packaging that went around and wrapped around Shrek 1 from the same company, and you look at the packaging that went around Shrek 4, there's a sea change in the level of technology. There's a sea change in the caliber of the technician. There's a sea change in the tools that were used. There's a sea change in everything that happens there. And that's really, I think, what we're here to constantly refresh ourselves in. Do not think that you've finished studying something, or you've achieved something, or you've learned a particular tool, and now you can practice that as an art form, as a skill set for the future. You have to constantly be refreshed in what you do in this field. And that's, I think, a good example of how that happens. Shrek, Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda, many of these properties. And animation, that's the animation side of it. If you look across on the live action side of it, Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter, Clash of the Titans. What are these? These are not movies. These are not just stories. These are not just products. These are iconic franchises that have been created because somebody has made something that has such a bold imprint that it lends itself to merchandising and licensing and becoming a part of one's life. It helps to build a community. It helps to build a following. One of the reasons that I believe we do not see the success in filmmaking in India or in these parts of the world is that it does not, the products that get created do not build that franchise. They don't have that larger than life value, right? How many of you know Sholay? Please put your hands up. Those of you know Sholay. Okay. Put your hands down. How many of you were born after Sholay was made? Well, some of you. There you go. See? So you know Sholay, though it was made before you were born, but you will not have the same recall or recognition for many films made in the last 5 years. But you will recall forever Shrek and Madagascar or Robin Hood or Kung Fu Panda or movies like that. So really it's about making something that is so larger than life, that's so part of your consciousness that it'll be an imprint forever. And I think that's something that all of us have to strive for in our attempt to create content, in our attempt to create stories, in our attempt to mount something that's larger than the movie itself. And think of your future in those terms. How many have you seen Pirates of the Caribbean 4? Can you put your hands up? Most of you. Great. So just, if you stayed back and saw, by the way, Pirates of the Caribbean always has a little clip that comes after the credits. How many of you stayed back to see that little clip after the credits? Okay, so the rest of you know that you shouldn't walk away when that happens the next time. And the reason I bring it up is because these great characters, these great brands now slowly and steadily have a lot of input from artists and technicians that work in India. All of the movies that I've mentioned so far, without exception, have had tens of people that have worked on them from our studio in Bangalore. So I think it's a huge credit to where we came from when this conference first started 6 or 7 years ago, when we did not work on any of those kinds of movies in this country, that today we have a few thousands of people, both within our studio and in 3 or 4 other locations in this country, that work with the best of the best. And I think that's the level that we have achieved, and we have to look beyond that level going forward. I actually put this up because we've just started screening Kung Fu Panda 2, and a lot of the people in the studio at Technicolor India have already finished the equivalent of 26 half hours of, or at least 13 half hours of the Kung Fu Panda television series, which will screen sometime in the future. And we are involved and feel part of making a brand or a franchise that we think is going to be a big, big franchise for the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years. And the reason I bring this up is that you can't do this unless you feel a certain joy. And I remember oftentimes being told by a teacher in school who tried to help us to define what should make us happy. And he actually used a Mahatma Gandhi quote, which I think is relevant for everyone. And it says, "Happiness is when what you think, what you do, and what you say are in harmony." Okay, and I think really from the point of view of artists, if you are working on something that you believe really makes you happy, makes you want to come in on a day-by-day basis and work on something that can become a legacy, then that is one of the keys that you should be looking for. I want to talk about something that actually we do not find in conferences. We went to, my colleague here and myself, we were at a jury at DSK Soup Infocom yesterday, and they're going to be here at the show just to see the first batch of graduating people. One of the things that no one really pays much attention to in our field and will actually be very important as we scale this business further is production management. I think the whole idea of how artists are supervised, how they are led, how they are mentored both creatively but also on the side of getting jobs done in time is a very, very important thing that we need to look for. And one of the things I've been talking about with people like yourselves is, you know, how do you feel about your supervisors? How do you feel about your bosses? And I think one of the suggestions I have for those of you, and many of you, there are many people out here who have training institutions, is to really figure out how we can impart a much better method of supervision for the CG community as a whole. Maybe even have formal courses for them. Because the interaction is often quite frictional, and the artists feel that they are led by people who don't understand them, and the people who lead them feel that the artists don't know that there are deliveries to make and there are client deadlines to have and so on and so forth. So we found that that's been a very important part of our growth. We were a relatively small studio making 1 or 1.2 series at a time about 18 to 24 months ago. Currently we do 5 television series at a time and a movie. So it's, you know, one of the things that we really had to scale besides the top flight artistic leadership is also to make sure that the supervision and the production management goes hand in hand with that. And I just wanted to emphasize this because there's a lot of friction that comes across, and I've seen a lot of studios and a lot of production houses not able to scale because they don't have a way to create this dynamic with each other. So please pay very special attention to that. And we talked about happiness in the last slide, and one of the things that makes people really unhappy is this friction. So, you know, I was thinking to myself that some people cause happiness wherever they go, and some people call it whenever they go. So I think in the future, supervisors should really fall into that first category. Management. I belong to a small group of people that in a large studio are always the problem people. And I want to bring this up to say that one of the things that we have seen over the last 12 to 14 years is really how difficult it is to create a successful, viable, long-term company in the CG world. There have been many, many, many startups. I've been responsible for having a small startup of my own 4 or 5 years back, and it's an extremely difficult business to make it grow. And one of the things that I think that management should keep in mind is that the artists always feel that so much of what we call management is making it difficult for artists to work. So those of you who are leading studios or creating little shops of your own, remember that you should keep the artists quite apart from all the things that you need to do in order to make this business financially viable and possible. And one of the things that I think we do not have in this country is really a free float of people that can come and work on contract. So the issue that has been prevalent over the last 10 years is that when a job finishes and another one is yet to start, people have to be kept in on a salary, and it's extremely difficult for a studio, once you keep a person for 1 or 2 months, to recover that salary in the next project in a reasonable point of time. So I think in the future, there will be new models, there will be new ways of engaging with people. You need to think of that as professionals as to what the best engagement can be, and obviously companies need to think of how they can encourage that to happen as it happens all over the world. So if you look at our film business in India, our television business in India, in the live action world, any other business in India, it's always people being mobilized for projects. But we haven't got enough talent right now to do that in animation, and that causes a little bit of friction everywhere. So everyone's been drawing charts and graphs for the last 10 years, but we still haven't cracked the code of how to create large, successful, viable, profitable companies. And a lot of the struggle that happens between management and the teams that they manage comes from actually not having cracked that code yet. So hopefully all of us can participate in being part of that solution going forward. I'm going to finish with the last 3 or 4 points, which I think are fairly obvious, but this one is about experience. At the jury yesterday, we saw some outstanding work coming from people who only worked as students for 2 or 3 or 4 years of their life. And one of the things that happens when people come out from outstanding institutions, NID, such schools all over the country which are coming up in a big way, is that once you've paid those kinds of monies to have that kind of an experience, the expectation of the student is to straight away go and do something at a very high level. People coming out from there straight away want to start directing movies or making movies of their own, which is wonderful. But when they come into the real world of production, it's a bit like Formula One or the motor racing business. You have to be a successful go-kart driver, then go to being a Formula 3 driver, then to be a Formula 2 driver, and then you can even get to sit inside a Formula 1 car and test for it. And I think that the reason I brought up experience is that in the artistic world, and I've seen this in films in a large way, I was responsible for live action films, both small, medium, and large budget. It's very, very difficult for a first-time director, for example, to go and take A-level budgeted film and make a success out of it. So please understand, those of you who are either training in the to be technicians or to be artists, that you have to first experience what you want to express. And that happens over time, and that happens through a certain rigor. And when you've finished even a kick-ass degree or a diploma from Vancouver or Pune or wherever you've come from, please subject yourself to being part of a rigorous production with people that can mentor you, and have a little patience to take that big leap. And you will be much more successful when you do so. So just in that same vein, be the best, work with the best, choose the best projects to work on, choose the best studios to work on. It was a great pride and privilege for us. I mean, we have my colleagues from MPC in this room. We've had a fairly young studio that got set up within Technicolor in the last 2 years. There are about 160 people working there. Their average experience is 1.5 years, more or less. And guess what they worked on already? Robin Hood, Clash of the Titans, The Last Harry Potter, The Next Harry Potter, X-Men, Percy Jackson. I'm running out of names, but a few others. And more than half this team have got screen credits on more than half of those movies. So the idea is that they really, if you meet them, they are fried. They look like guys, they look like zombies. They've been working incredibly hard. They've been subjecting themselves to doing some very, very detailed work, which most people will consider very painstaking and very mundane. But guess what? Meet those guys in 3 to 5 years from now and just see how the rigor that they're going through will pay off in a big way. So my point to you is, it's hard to get to the top. It's actually quite hard to be able to get to that finish line at the top of your game if you haven't come through that rigor. Be the best, associate with the best. The other thing I thought more of a personal comment, and it's maybe politically appropriate or not, I don't know, but it's about body and mind. We are trying to do a lot of things in our studio just because people are so stuck to their desks. All of you are so stuck to your computers. People like me are not that physically fit. And I just wanted to say that even as an artist, the body is a miracle that you need to use. You need to kind of experience things in your physical life, joy, dance, go out, yoga. A lot of the successful people in our studio run away at lunchtime and try and join a gym or try and do something different, because I think there's so little physical activity that's happening as you come to these large studios and large tech parks, riding on a bus, coming in, going away. So I'd encourage everyone here to really see how doing some of that makes a difference to you. I'm up 5 kilos from last year, but I was down last year 22 kilos from the previous year, and I can tell you it made a huge difference to my life. And I just encourage everyone to understand that you learn earth lessons if you really try to keep in touch with your body and be healthy. And it really helps you as an artist as well, I think. The next and the last 2 slides here is about emotions. I think that very little is taught or understood or even talked about within studios, within institutes, about people understanding how to be in touch with their emotions. A lot of people in this industry, a lot of you are extremely young and are going through many different emotions in your life, relationships and stuff like that. And I think that that is actually what lends color and texture and shading to your experience. And I think all of that stuff that you're going through can actually show in your work. We had a very interesting observation yesterday from the 3 films that we saw. And the 3 films that we saw in the jury yesterday were comprising of a team of 4 people, and then 3 people, and then 4 people again. And in 2 of those teams, there were people from overseas as well. So there was 1 or 2 artists that were from overseas, and the team number 2 was purely Indian. The purely Indian team had a fairly international theme, and the other 2, which had international people, had an Indian flavor to their theme. And the point I'm trying to make is that the ones where an international person was looking at India with their team in a quirky way were actually using much more of their experience, observing the attitudes of people around them and their reactions to it and capturing that on film. And I think that is something that really we will, if you are true to your art, you'll be able to figure out how you can use your body and your emotions in getting to do what you do. I use this graphic because actually it's a very, very indicative graphic of our world. The media world in general, work inside a large studio, working on a large animation or a VFX production or a gaming project is a cyclonic world. And the only way that you can be successful in this world is to be in the center of it. Think of yourself in terms of being in the center of a cyclone, because it's a very, very calm place to be. And you should try to figure out that when there is confusion around you, you should learn how to breathe, how to adapt to it, how to deal with a slightly irascible, irritant supervisor, colleagues that are expecting more from you and not giving the same themselves. All of this is the reality of the world we live in. And I would like you, in those moments, to focus your mind on this image and think of how you can find the center of that cyclonic place for you to have that calm, for you to be able to do something that is successful and not just be carried away and thrown out in that cyclone. And I just thought that instead of talking about pixels and stuff for the last 5 or 6 years and where it came from, that I would talk more about the future. I think what we see in this room is the makings of the pixels of the future, and I'll leave it for the other panels to explore this in more detail. Have a great day, have a great conference, and all the very best.
Without delaying any further, I call on stage Laura Dorman from AJ Video Systems, partner manager, and who has specific focus on the Asia Pacific India. She specializes in developing and bonding relationships within this industry. A great friend of most of the fraternity here. Has been in and out of India for the last 5 years. And she's well known for her initiatives here in your previous roles as well as a new role here in AJA. A big round of applause for Laura, please.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone? Great. Well, thank you so much for coming this morning, and I want to just express my thanks to the CGTantra crew for allowing me to speak. I'll be very brief, but I do want to welcome you officially, and I'm taking a stab at this, so I apologize in advance, but I would like to tell you that Mary pe are dosto. मैं आप सुबह यहाँ तहे दिल से स्वागत करती हूँ। आशा है कि आप सुबह यहाँ से हमें अपने दिल में साथ ले जाओगे। All right? So what I'm saying to you is, my beloved friends, I welcome you all from the bottom of my heart. And today, I hope you will take some of me back to you in your heart as well. I am thrilled to be back here in India. I've been working in India for 5 years, and I'm now here with AJA Video Systems. AJA Video Systems is making its inaugural debut in India at CG Expo. And I have known Chand for a very long time, was involved for some of you previously with NVIDIA. And when Chand approached me about being involved in CG Expo, I said, you know, Chand, I'm not really sure how we can be involved, but we really want to support you, because being involved in community and being involved in the Indian production community is very important. So, Chand, CB Arun Kumar, where are you? We came up with this wild idea. Well, AJA has this great product called the Key Pro and the Key Pro Mini. And basically what it is tapeless digital. You can take and record anything anywhere in the field and basically plug it into a computer. We have a Key Pro Mini where you record things on a compact flash card. So basically, Chand, CB, and I start emailing and say, well, why don't we just tape all this stuff, and why don't we make these sessions available to everyone across India? Why don't we put it on a YouTube channel? Hey, we've never done it before, but let's try it. So thanks to the effects school and the film crew that's working today, thanks to CB, thanks to CGTantra, and thanks to AJA Video Systems, as well as Genesis Forte, who's our reseller here and helping us provide the Key Pros and the Key Pro Minis, we're doing that today. So we are recording. It's going to be basically broadcast for the world. And here's India, front and center. So congratulations. Here we are. Technology. Great. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about AJA really quickly. We have 3 areas: acquire, edit, and convert. I'm not going to talk about all the products. I'm not going to talk about what we do. However, we do have a tech talk tomorrow at 11 a.m. where you can learn all about our products, but basically 3 areas: acquire, edit, and convert. We have broadcast converters, which are being used throughout India. We also have an editing system, some of you may know, the Kona cards, and then obviously our acquisition, which is our Key Pro and our Key Pro Mini. Those of you that may want more information, there is our aja.com website, and if anybody wants to contact me, that's my email address up there as well. Pretty simple. Okay, so tracing back to the pixels. It's kind of interesting what Biren had to say. I actually enjoyed your talk very much, sir. I was thinking about this morning at 5 a.m. when I was like, ooh, what am I going to talk about? And pixels are pictures. And I have been lucky enough to be involved in India for almost 5 years now. And it's been a privilege and an honor to be traveling here and to work with such outstanding people that are here in the industry. This person doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I feel it is very important that we talk a little bit about CGTantra and its history, because CGTantra is having its 4th year of the CG Expo, and I think it's just one of the most valuable events that happen in India. So when we talk about pixels, we talk about CGTantra. These are pictures from events around the world. I've got Annecy, FMX, the VES Awards, Broadcast India, ASIFA India, CG Meetup. These are all from the last 5 years. I thought you guys would like to see them. Every time I have been in an event in any part of the world, we have talked about CGTantra. And we have talked about R.K. Chand. Chand has been an industry leader. Chand has been a visionary, and Chand has been a dear friend of Indian animation and visual effects for quite some time. And I don't feel that he has ever gotten his due. So, there's Chand. He's been with us all along. He has been my friend and also my mentor for 5 years. And I would like to bring him on stage and fully acknowledge his participation and his friendship. Please come up on stage, sir. And I'd like to thank him for his work. What? It's just, I am acknowledging you and thanking you for your work with CGTantra and the team. Now, the joke that Chand and I have been sharing is that it's the holiday weekend in the US, and I was supposed to go to Hawaii. However, I was like, no, I'll come to CG Expo in India, it'll be so much fun. But in Hawaii, we traditionally give leis to people we honor. And, well, it's kind of an Indian lei, but the intent is there.
You don't know what that means in India.
No, I don't. What does it mean in India? I don't know. I sent the driver to get this. I don't know. What does it mean?
It means we're getting married.
Oh my God, we're not getting married. So anyway, I wanted to present this to you as a lei in Hawaii. That's it's just a thank you. And I really just want to acknowledge our friendship, your support of me and of the Indian film industry, as well as your team and what you've done for us these last 5 years. So thank you very much. So anyway, that's Chand, and I really felt it was important for him to really be acknowledged. He has worked so tirelessly, and just, I mean, I can go to LA and talk about CGTantra, and I can go to France, and I can go to Germany, and everybody just has such wonderful things to say. So I just want you to know that it's an important part of what you are all a part of. And then also, in kind of keeping what Biren said, it's just important for you guys to continue to work with the best and do the best, because I have full faith that you're going to continue to be a force to be reckoned with, and you're going to continue to be something that people are going to enjoy, and we are going to continue to grow. And I look forward to coming back to India and continue to expose others to India. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today. And without further ado, I'm going to pass this back to Chand. And thank you very, very much